Good evening, everybody. This is John Marola from Keepin It Real Section 5 Football. This is our 7th episode. And like I said before, we're just moving right along. And I'm very excited tonight. I have my partner back sitting on my far right, Section 5 Hall of Famer Paul Burgandy, back from Florida.
And I'm glad to be back, but I saw a lot of snow this weekend, so I wasn't sure if I came back a little early. But I'm glad to be back with you, Johnny, and look forward to our guest tonight and want to thank George Giordano for a fantastic job filling in. I listened to all the podcasts when I was down in Florida, and he had some really good shows.
Yep, I'd like to thank George, too, for stepping in. He did a great job, as usual. Tonight's guest, our man in the middle, Dave Marean. Dave is a man of many, many hats. He's the head football coach over at Wayne. He is now in his second year as the head coach, or your first year?
First year for flag at Hilton.
Okay, it's first year flag football coach, which is very interesting. We've been just talking a little bit off camera. And we're just going to get into it right now. Do you want to?
Yeah, again, with those hats that Coach Marean does, I want to make sure that we give him props for the various organizations. Gives back a lot to Section 5. He's a member of the National Football Foundation. He runs the New York State Elite Athletics, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But those are some of the camps, some of the clinics, some of the combines that Coach Marean provides for our Section 5 area athletes.
Okay. Why don't we just start off by, let's go with your years at Wayne. How long have you been there?
So I've been the head coach since 2004. I was lucky enough to be there when we started football. In 1996, we started JVs, went JVs 96, 97. 97, we had JVs allowing the juniors to play. Okay. And then in 98, we went varsity. So those years, I was either an OC or DC, and then took over in 2004 as the head.
Wow. Yeah. And now as a, tell us a little bit about how are you guys going to be this year?
We're undefeated now, but we haven't played anybody yet.
Everybody's undefeated.
It's always a fun time of the season when you're undefeated. Things are going on.
It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we're going independent. We lose 3 really big studs. And, you never know. That's the interesting thing, the exciting thing about high school football is that transformation from that sophomore that was up for a year is unbelievable to watch. And then that junior that now all of a sudden realizes this is my last year of varsity football. All of a sudden the switch hits. They become that leader. Mm-hmm. So I'm pleased what they're doing in the off season and, excited to see what happens this fall.
Okay. You just mentioned a little thing about independent. Tell us what's going on with that.
Sure. And before I do that, you talk about various hat stuff. The one hat that's probably the most important is 24 years of being a husband, as well as being a dad. So, hats off to my wife to allow me to be. She supports my passion tremendously. So, as we all know, we can't do anything without that support. But yeah, independent. I mean, it's definitely a word that's defined differently now than it was years ago. Taking over football in 2004 in the Finger Lakes at that point, we had Victor and Canandaigua and Coach Foster, and Coach Hall, who was my line coach when I was at Cortland. They were, powerhouses then. And before they moved to Monroe County, I was both of their, doorman for homecoming. Mm-hmm. And, after that first year taking over, I said, to Coach Foster, what do I need to do to go to independent? He was great. He said, I'll take care of you with schedule, but just to let you know, you can't make sectionals. And then throughout those years building up, and I said, I think we're a new program. We need to let these kids know that sectionals are really important and how do we get there? And we were lucky enough prior to that, we had never made it to sectionals. That there was only 1 year since 2004 that we haven't made it to sectionals. So hats off to my coach and the kids that bought in over this time. And, I know independent is definitely this year now. It's no sectionals. I know there were some teams in various situations that allowed themselves to go independent or have a hybrid version of a schedule to still make sectionals. I think, the decisions we make as coaches, we need to make decisions what's best for our kids. Yes. But at the same point, what's best for your programs. And Ask anybody that plays. I'm not afraid to play anybody by any means, but having 19 kids on a varsity team last year, and yes, we had a very good year. We went to the semis.
Mm-hmm.
We've been able to be competitive, but each year, when I started with 35 to 40 kids, and then the past 5 years, I was lucky to get 23. And now, with a new rule that the state put out allowing kids to play a JV game, long as they don't go over 10 in the varsity game, has been great to us small schools. But when you're in practice and you've got 16 kids that show up because 3 are sick, and then you've got JV kids filling in, you start to see even the good kids. It's not those kids that are just part of the program that aren't coming back out. There's players that aren't coming back out that should be starters, 2-3 year starters. And so as coaches, we met with our players and talked with them, and they just didn't feel it. You said, Coach, we're just not playing the same teams we do in the league year in and out. We're not playing the Palm Max, who we have our border bowl with, which would raise a lot of money for. Like the one year we did Children with Cancer fundraiser and donate money there. We weren't playing the Newarks. It just didn't feel like we had any rivalries.
Okay.
And no disrespect to the other schools. I said, I've worked too hard since 2004 to develop this program. And I never want to be in a position to say, okay, this year we're just going to have varsity and Mod A. Because that's not successful for the 7th graders. It's not successful for those 10th graders. They're up on varsity, taking their lumps and not getting time. I think you end up losing out in that situation. And talking with kids, we were going to get more kids out by doing the independent route. And it's, as a competitor, me, it's tough to swallow that, because I want to compete for a sectional title, but I have to suck up my pride and say, what's best for football, but what's best for our program. And, hats off to Coach Dave Wickham, who's kind of organized all this. We looked at the big picture, and in our situation in independent, we're going to get a scrimmage. When the state passed to go 8 games, that was great, but to do that, you had to lose a scrimmage. To me, I don't think that was great for football, because I think there's as much as we train in the off season, that transition, like last year, we decided to go for a scrimmage instead of our first game, and that was great for the kids. You get to evaluate them better.
Yes. Yeah.
You don't feel rushed as coaches to.
They get the cobwebs kind of.
100%.
You're playing against a different color helmet, and in that, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You got better. You're playing somebody else.
Yes, I agree 100%.
One of the questions, when you, and maybe you could explain it to our listeners, when you choose the independent route, is that reevaluated then at the end of the season, what you choose to do the following year, or do you stay? Is it a 2-year commitment? Is it how is that?
I think that's something right now that, I was, prior to this year, I was on the Section 5 Federation committee as the Class B rep. I stepped down. I didn't think it was fair to anybody else for me to wear that hat and answer those questions if I'm independent, and give somebody an opportunity to take on that role. And one of the things we were discussing about is, there is no structure of how many years, but I think that's something that you can't force anybody, to play who you can play. But I think that needs to be kind of set, because I think people could take advantage of that.
See, one team, and I think they actually have been pretty successful with it, is Greece Olympia. They picked up, I think their numbers have improved in their football program, and I don't know how many years they have went the independent route.
This last year, I think, was the first year.
Okay.
And then this year.
This will be their second year of
starting to get back on their feet.
But their numbers have definitely improved.
Yes.
I agree. It's just the decision we made, like I said, what was best for our program, but it's also best for football. So we're going to get a scrimmage. We're going to get 8 guaranteed games for the regular season, and a guaranteed 9th game, and a chance to play for a league title. The downfall of Federation is everybody that's in Federation. Football is the only sport in Section 5 that goes Federation, and all these banners are up in every single one of our gyms for league title. That's not there. And unless you're the top tier, I think I'm not a person that says everybody deserves a trophy, but you want to have something to battle for. But man, if you can get your young kids a chance to play more football, it's just like when 8-Man came out, like the amount of kids that got exposure to be able to play at the next level.
And we were seeing the 8-Man has increased too, and teams combining is definitely increased. Another question, because you've been at the varsity level for 20 years. You've seen a lot of changes from when you started to what you are now. And just talking about the numbers, do you think kids are specializing in particular sports, and that's in some ways hindering you're not seeing the 2-sport, 3-sport athlete anymore?
Yeah, I think you look at the amount of club sports there are now. I mean, my son and daughter, my son's in college now, but my daughter, who's a junior, the amount of games they played in travel soccer AU in one off season was more than I would have ever played in a whole 4 years of high school, which is a great problem. I think parents feel handcuffed, like if I don't get my kid, I'm going to fall behind the 8 ball. But because of that, I think a lot of kids do start to specialize that. Football is so unique that there's not really that true off season other than 7-on-7, which is becoming a little bit more popular up here. The downfall is our weather doesn't allow us to have as much of it. But how does a kid not want to play lacrosse? Your off season is playing games. How does a kid not want to play soccer? Your off season is playing games. Your off season for basketball is AU. Your off season for baseball, now they have these indoor games going. So there's so much more. And what's football's off season? Go lift some weights. Give it a strength coach. So I think there's a lot of things that are getting better with that. I don't think COVID helped because it allowed, kids to all of a sudden kind of step back. I know as a family, like the amount of times you look back and like, does that AU game really matter as much as it spent for the hour I just spent with my family? And
time becomes
I think,
more valuable.
Yeah, I think COVID really woke a lot of people up. I mean, heck, I got 3 years of teaching after this year, and when COVID hit, I said, "Is this really what retirement is?" I got to talk to Paul and figure out how good this is.
Well, I got to tell you, retirement is great.
If you've seen our first episode, you figured he's just happy guy.
Happy as can be, and I feel for all you coaches. I know the hard work you all put in, and it's a 365-day year commitment. And when you have families, and that it magnifies it even more.
For sure. For sure.
That's the thing that's unbelievable is now we just talked about a little bit of your football at Wayne. Now
you're going to do it all over again.
You're doing it now, and you're at doing the Hilton girls. What's that all about?
I tell you, it's a blast. Before I took over football as the varsity baseball coach for a few years, and I stepped away from that, and I kind of had my springs open the last 2 years. My OC had taken over the baseball program. I told him I'd give him a hand, so I did JVs the last 2 years. And my daughter's a junior last year. Hilton got as a sophomore, and she loved it. And I got a chance to be the down marker guy a couple times. And it was so re-energizing to watch the life of people watching and playing a game that either they've always loved but never had a chance to play, or have played in the backyard with their brother or whatever. And I tell you, now being the head coach for Hilton, it's a blast. First of all, I've never had a girl late. Wow. So
that's great.
That alone.
Ladies are great. Like, it's awesome. And everything's new to them, but they love to be. And I think it's really important. I had Karen from Primetime 585 come out and speak to the girls today, because to me, I think it's really important as a male coach and my assistant who's a male to let these ladies feel empowered. And I'm the season, what I'm doing is bringing female strong women leaders in the community and bringing them to speak. Because I know what it is, but I don't know what it is because I'm not a female. And Karen was the first person I thought of and brought her out. And she was great with the girls. And we just talk about empowering them and feeling confident. And, when, in my days with the softball and baseball, it was different. Some schools didn't have softball. And, but it's such a great sport. The girls are blessed. They love being coached up and coached hard. They don't want to be coddled. And it's a different way of coaching because I'll design a play. I'm like, oh, that's right, we can't block.
So see, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Like, they can't block. So what? First of all, how many girls are on the floor?
Yeah, so it's 7-on-7, but everybody's eligible.
Oh, okay.
So which as even though I'm a defensive minded guy, my heart has always been with offense because I was a quarterback. And man, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could be creative. So it's 7-on-7. You only have to be 1 yard within the line of scrimmage. So not anybody can be covered or uncovered. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Anybody can motion, as long as it's just one motion like we normally do.
Okay.
Can they rush?
There's no blitzing.
Okay.
I mean, there's no count. You go.
Oh, you go. Okay, right.
And you're separated by, they call them pucks, but it's basically 2 flat cones and a rope that's a yard apart. And that's the line of scrimmage.
Okay.
And as soon as the ball snapped, they can come across. Now, blocking wise, the only thing you can do is basically like a screen in basketball.
Okay,
You can't initiate contact. The defense can't initiate contact. So you can either block like this, you can put your hands behind your back, or you can put your hands down long so you don't extend your arms out. Once you're beyond the line of scrimmage, it truly has to be a pick like basketball. You can't move.
Okay.
But I mean, you could set up trips this side, motion this girl over, and everybody's eligible. It doesn't matter. So you could run option this way, and it's very, very interesting. Like tomorrow's our first game against Webster Thomas, who's very, very good. And I'm excited to see how do they adjust, how do they not adjust defensively. But anything you can think of offensive minded, like
especially when you're saying everybody's eligible,
It is.
It's almost like endless.
the center snaps. I've seen girls snap to the quarterback, and everybody has to be shotgun. You have to be more than 1 yard.
Okay.
But you don't have to snap 3 legs. You can snap it sideways.
Oh, okay. All right.
So a lot to do with that because it's easier. But you can snap at the quarterback and run, and then just shovel it past to the
throw it
center.
back to the center.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are the field dimensions? Is it the same as a regular field? Is it reduced or how?
So it's 40 yards wide, and the length is 80 yards.
Okay.
And the way it's set up, there's no change for first downs. It's called zones. So there's no kickoff. You start at the 20.
Okay.
You have 4 downs to get it to the 40.
40.
Next zone. You then have 4 downs to get to the 20 and then score.
Now, are these fields, are they lined now for girls flag football?
Some are. Depends on what sport they have. So on the edge of the numbers, if you look at the tablecloth here, the outside edge of the numbers. That's
your line.
And some have the cross line, some have the field hockey lines that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Others, what they're doing is painting connected them.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
washable
yeah,
paint.
yeah.
Or some that don't have that sport just put cones there. And then instead of the end zone being the end zone is now, it's an 80-yard field. So, and now this year, which is really interesting, we just put it in today because we didn't know what the girls were going to think. Punting is live, meaning last year you couldn't block the punt, you couldn't return the punt, you just punted wherever it landed.
Catch it.
Okay.
Yeah. This year, since the ball is punted, the punting team can take off.
Mm-hmm.
The return team can return it long as they catch it before it hits the ground. So, like today, I'm like, can you punt it out of bounds? We're not going to punt in the air to their best athlete.
Yeah.
So it's a different part of the game, but it's fun.
Now, if you punt and the girl catches the ball and drops it, is it dead?
Yes,
Like a
once it hits
muff
the
or
ground,
whatever.
it's dead. If they bobble it, it's okay, long as it doesn't hit the ground.
Okay.
Now, Coach, could you probably explain to the viewers out here how many teams are at this varsity, just the growth of women's flag football in our area? And, we talked earlier, you mentioned some have JV teams now and some even modified programs.
It's unbelievable. So it's my understanding just 2 years ago, there was only 6 or 7 teams. And now we have 31 varsity teams. I believe there's 2 pilot teams, I believe Franklin and Avon. And then there's 5, I believe, modified A teams right now.
Wow.
Buffalo is pretty close to the same amount. And I think you're going to see next year a bunch more Mod A teams. It's grown faster than any women's sport, probably grown faster than any sport. I mean, women's lacrosse grew fast, but this is unbelievable. And the NFL are brilliant minded. It's a great move business wise to bring in more fan base. But Buffalo Bills supply flags. Buffalo Bills supplied footballs. The Buffalo Bills hosted this past weekend. They had I think they have their first time. I think they had like 20 teams. Now they have 60 teams come up. They host it. They feed them. They give them bags.
It's all in the field house.
Awesome in the field house and scrimmage.
That's fantastic.
They had
investment there.
The lady that was there, gold medals for USA flag football.
Wow.
Right.
And she's a college flag football head coach.
Okay.
Was great. And she said, talking to the girls, you guys have a chance to do something I couldn't do. I always wanted to play football, so I had to play tackle football. Never would I know I'd be paid now to give out scholarships to girls to play at the college level.
You know, and you mentioned when we were talking before the broadcast, just some of the real numbers that a lot of these programs have. I don't know what you're at with numbers with how many are on your team.
We have 24. Last year they had 60 because it was dual sport and it was new. This year we didn't have to make cuts. We had 26 come out, and then two were dual sport, and they just realized the commitment was going to be too tough.
Is there a limit as how many you can have on your team?
There is no limit.
Okay.
You just have to minimally have 5 or more to play a game. Say there's somebody sick or whatever with some of the smaller schools, but it's blown up. I mean, my alumni, Williamson, who's never had football, my JV coach is a business teacher there, and he's their head football coach, and I mean, it's pretty cool.
And what about your coaching staff? Are you allowed 1 assistant, 2 assistants? How does this?
You probably could have as many as you want. I mean, as far as our district, we have 2 paid positions, which includes myself. But what we're going to hope to do, and I think a lot of schools are doing this. I think it's a win-win. If all these ladies love to go and support the guys in general, watching their games, why not get some of the varsity football players to come over and, hey, keep stats.
That's
How
cool.
about help with the drill?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great opportunity for them to, our young men need to know how to treat ladies, right?
Yes.
So what a great opportunity to have them help out in something that they know how to teach, but at the same point know how to work with a young lady that's going to, make them a better father,
And
in the future, a husband.
let me say one thing too is what I've noticed through my years and all this, the boys' sports, it looks in my eyes, it's more individually, but you're on a team. I see a lot of in basketball. I see a lot of one-on-one stuff with the boys, and it's how many points I can get, or how many I can do this or that. Where I watch girls, it's a total team. I mean, girls basketball, the ball is all over the place, and it's just more of a team aspect. And I think you're going to really see that with the girls now, as far as because they're going to need each other
Right.
when they're out there, and it's not it's really fun to watch the girls play.
And you're saying you have your opener tomorrow, and maybe if you could tell the listeners how many games you play in a season with the girls flag football, and how they have a sectionals and.
Yeah, so last year, is my understanding, they had 2 scrimmages and 7 games. This year, varying the weather, we were supposed to have 3 scrimmages, but we have 10 regular season games.
Wow.
And last year was the first year sectionals. This year, now it's states,
Oh, okay.
which is very, very exciting.
This will be a full state tournament?
Yeah, so I believe the regionals are in Buff State, and I believe, I don't know if it's Cortland College is hosting the finals. But yeah, it's, you talk about the girls, and I'm learning new terms, the sisterhood, the studettes. It's so true. We had the girls select captains today, and it's the first time I ever had the amount of consistent names across the board, like it was spread out, where usually you're right, with the boys, it's these 3. They really, really support each other, so it's humbling.
And will you be playing 2 games a week, or how does this the scheduling work as far as?
Yeah, so I think the season is the same length as last year, but last year they did 1 game a week, so we're pretty much 2 games a week.
2 games a week.
Yeah, so we start today, then obviously or tomorrow, and some teams had a game today, or some teams had one yesterday. I think beginning of May is our last regular season game.
Okay.
Obviously, you have spring break in there, so that takes out a week. But it's unbelievable the amount of games that they're going to get.
Well, that's a way to look forward to going to a game. And how would listeners find where a schedule would be and some of the standings, some information on the girls flag football?
Yeah,
where do you find that?
You go right on Section 5 Flag Football. I don't know if it's Section 5 flagfootball.com, but if you didn't know, it's the same exact website format as all the Section 5 sports. And it's great. They plug in their scores to our school, and it attaches right to there. And you can click on the live link and watch the game. Like, I got a chance to watch Webster Thomas, who we play. I got a chance to watch them live playing Schrader last night. And it's awesome. It's this year, too, they're going to do all Greater Rochester.
Nice.
DNC is going to do that. So we actually got a stat sheet to fill out to use those. The National Football Foundation is going to recognize them at their annual banquet. And it's interesting. Jen Lipinski, who's Section 5 with flag coordinator, but she's also at the state level to help get this in. We get an email, 1 or 2 a week. It just talks about some of the things you don't think about, because not everybody who is coaching this is a football coach or has coached football. And, here's your game day checklist. Here's your thing. So it really, really, there's a tremendous amount of support. When we had an online meeting with them, they showed us, a bunch of drills and different things, because there's a lot of similarities with tackle football, but there's a lot of things that are different.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It
sounds
fun.
exciting,
Sounds
and
exciting.
we look forward to attending some of the games and updating the listeners on some of the standings and some of the big games of the week.
That's excellent. All right, I'd like to talk about this a lot longer, but we'll be here all night. Tell me about your camps now. What
It's
do you
the
do?
New York State Elite Athletics.
Yes. So this is the 8th year of it. It really kind of got it started in twofold. One, my son at that time, Andrew, was an 8th grader, and there was no 7-on-7s around here. So I reached out to the gentleman that is the founder of Texas 7-on-7 Elite. And he was a business guy. His son kind of started the same thing, and then he just retired from his business. He just took over. And with travel across an AU, it's a challenge up here and not having the weather. So I said, let's start a U. So we had 4 teams. We had a Hilton team. We had a Victor team. We had a Wayne team. And I think a Spencerport team. And we did it for a couple of years. But at that same time that was occurring, Braden Sinelevich, my quarterback at that time, who now is the quarterback coach at Utica University, he was a scholarship level player, but we had to get him out of state, or he had to go out of state. He had to go a Hall of Fame camp just to get recognized. And I went up there with my dad and I. We went and watched him at the Hall of Fame, and I was able to get right on the field and work with the coach and go in the film. And there's kids from Texas, Florida, and everywhere. Every kid kept coming up to him. What star are you? What star are you? He wasn't even rated. And I asked the coach, I said, be honest with me, where is he? He goes, he's one of the top 2 kids here.
Wow.
He says, but he's in New York State.
Yep.
They don't play enough games.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, to me, I was like, wow. And when I was doing that 7-on-7, my son, to advertise that, I did a football skills camp. And we had 50 kids come to it the first time, and this was in March. And I had a bunch of area high school coaches help me. I said, man, we got to find a way to create platforms for our kids. So 8 years ago, it started with a little, 4-team 7-on-7 league
Mm-hmm.
and a skills camp, to now we just finished up our 8th annual skills camp, where this weekend was 2nd through 7th grade. The week before was 8th grade through 11th, and we had over 200 kids consistently there.
Wow.
I bring in college coaches, past pro players. We bring guys like Bruce Johnson, who's from the Section 5 area, who's a great coach over East, but he also played in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing some guys like him, Coach Fan from East, just all different great coaches, great college coaches, creating platforms for the older. And I share all the contacts with the college coaches, so it helps as a recruiting tool. We did that, and the first weekend of March, I always do a Section 5. Well, it's not Section 5. It started as Section 5 coaches clinic. Kind of piggyback up what George did with No Frills years
No
ago.
frills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in 3 years, we've averaged 100 every year, and we get guys from all over the section.
That's
And we had
fantastic.
18 plus coaches, and I bring the youth in too, because I think it's great to build those connections. In the summer, I do 2 youth camps, a Finger Lakes youth camp and the Rochester youth camp. We started about 3 years ago a 7-on-7 tournament of champions, where we average about 20 to 24 teams across the state coming. It's been great. And then we end the year with the Sunday after Thanksgiving. We do a New York State college fair and showcase.
Okay.
And it's gotten so big that I had to break it up into 2 sessions, and we usually get 100 to 150 kids, but we get 30 college programs, over 60 college coaches there, and it's just been a great platform. We have now, in the 8 years, we have over 350 kids who are playing in the college level.
That's fantastic.
That either started in one of our youth camps or just came. Nate Carter, who's the starting running back from
Michigan State.
Michigan State, played at Bishop Kearney. His dad and I actually grew up in played basketball and youth football through the Ontario Golden Eagles back then, before football was even a thing. And he came to our first showcase, and shortly after that, he went to a couple other events, and he just started getting noticed. And so you've got guys that are full scholarships. You got guys that are playing at JUCO, and now we've got guys coming back. Like Jake Zembeck comes back and helps out. Nathan came back and helped with your youth camp one time. And now I've got people, now that I'm coaching flag, what are you going to do for the girls? So we do have two things in the work. We have a youth camp we're going to run this summer, and I'm working with a gentleman named Dave Tanatil, and he's great. He works with Wegmans. Him and I are working to get some scholarships for these girls through this 7-on-7 tournament, and trying to get some women business owned people to donate. And so I think we're going to have an exciting opportunity for them. And it's funny. It's kind of taken on a beast of its own. Here I was doing it to kind of help our kids. And if you ask anybody, not only do I feel it's so important to take care of my own kids getting to the next level, it's so important as coaches. It's such a fraternity to take care of as many kids in New York State.
Give back to the sport.
It's done so much for me.
For everything.
I mean, besides COVID, there wasn't a year since I was 9 that I wasn't involved in football in the fall. And what it's done for me, I just, doing things like this is awesome. I have a passion for it.
Coach, where could the listeners go to find out more information and to sign up for some of these activities that you have planned? Where would they go?
Sure. So you can go to our website. Our website is nyseliteathletics.com. But follow us on social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, as well as Twitter. And plenty of opportunities, plenty of chance for kids, even if they've never played the game before. That's why I love the coaches I bring are not only very talented, but are even better people. And they're in it for the right reasons. So.
It's promoting the kids.
It really is.
That's what we said this a couple episodes ago. Us as coaches, we came into this world as football people,
right?
And I guess we're going to leave as football people. So it's for the kids, and that's all we've been about our whole lives. And this is one of the main reasons why we wanted to do this, is just to get people on like you, to let people understand, know that there are some things going on to help benefit these kids. The kids aren't left out to dry.
Right.
There's people you can talk to, people you can lean on to help you get to the next level, or just help you in life in general. So
definitely.
One of the other organizations that you're involved in, that we actually both are involved in, is the National Football Foundation, and you've been on that committee longer than myself. And tell me how you got started in the National Football Foundation and some of the good things that organization does for kids in our area.
I tell you, I think it's one of the most hidden secrets in Section 5, because it's nationally known, and they give out so much money to these kids and recognize so many kids. I noticed it when I received an email years and years ago from Wade Bianco, who's now the president of it, and I said, I just got nominated, kid, and he gets a plaque and he gets a free meal, and then do you want to bring a family? I'm like, what better way to recognize a kid academically and athletically for a sport that's given back? And they put their name in the College Football Hall of Fame kiosk, and anybody that's been that would be blown away. And so.
Well, I can tell you, this year I went. This was my first year being part of it. I was at the banquet, and I think we had 250 people there,
standing room
only for that banquet, and kids were receiving scholarship monies to that were going on to play college football, and there was different scholarship levels, and I believe basically it was kids. I think a minimum of a B average. Okay. And they'd be nominated by either a guidance counselor or a coach, whatever. And it was just basically, turning that in, and the kids are rewarded for their citizenship, their character, and and we saw that at all different levels. They had kids in the youth program receiving, kids at the high school level, And now you're saying that they will have the girls flag football will be getting
Yeah,
on
they're
there
going
too.
to recognize them too. And, Wade Bianco, when he's listing these accolades of these young men from youth all the way, is impressive. I think too many times in society we hear all the bad things that these young kids do.
Mm.
If you would have sat there, you would have never known there are issues in this world. The amount of great stand-up kids from all walks of life that were there. And, the last couple of years, Wade reached out to me and said, hey, being an active coach, do you think you can help spread the word? And, people during the season get sick of my emails like, hey, take advantage of that. But I think once people realize what it is and show up with their kids, it's unbelievable. It's standing room only. And a lot of retired coaches do a great job with that organization.
It's amazing. It's like you said, it's a hidden, it's a hidden gem. It's a hidden secret in Section 5. And this is just our way of hopefully people, seeing that the opportunities are there. And that's what we're here for.
And the last thing I want to talk to you about is, because you've done, so many things that we've mentioned earlier, and we could talk about you coaching Eddie Meath games.
Yep.
You worked at one of the first camps. I remember taking our kids from East. Coach Marean ran a camp through the NFL and the National Guard combined, and that was a football camp that you ran. And as you get now later in your coaching career, and what's next when you decide that it's time to step down from coaching, is there something else you would like to do when that retirement comes?
Yeah, it's funny. Gosh, it seems like just yesterday we were doing that high school player development camp at East and everybody there and bringing guest speakers. And I remember your pregame speech like it was yesterday at East Ridge for the Eddie Meath game. I knew it was your last game. I said, you take charge. And I didn't know what was better, that speech or the wings after the game. It was
Both.
but yeah, what's next? People been asking. In 3 years, I could technically retire from teaching. I still enjoy what I do, love what I do. My daughter will have a couple years left in college that time, so who knows what the money's going to be like then.
Mm-hmm.
But I have such a passion for coaching, and it's not just the game; it's what the game has done for me and what I know it can do for young men and women now. One of the things that I think, as any coach has done it as long as me or longer, becomes the grind off the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the managerial things or whether it's dealing with parents. And I have some unbelievable parents, but everybody has, that piece of a headache that it's a challenge.
Yep.
I would love to, be a specialized coach, whether it's at college and just be a quarterback coach or an offense coordinator and just show up and help somebody in the game. I definitely won't get away from the game. I'm sure with my camps and stuff, I'll continue that. And, the beauty of social media, I can maybe be down in Florida with you,
Right.
but then fly up for the game camps. But,
right.
It's funny. I think as far as the teaching piece, where I'll be, but as far as, I think what's next, that's kind of what my thoughts are.
Well, I did listen to a couple of those games. I think it were on Varsity Media or when you were up in the announcer's booth and you were the analyst, and you did a great job with that.
I will tell you, if I had to, redo my life again, there wouldn't be many things I'd change. But I tell you, the thing I love more than that, like as coaches, we all love that prep.
Mm-hmm.
And when Ben Turchin gave me the opportunity to do that for a few games here and there, I love that prep, calling up a coach, getting the information. And what was great on game day, I didn't care who won or lost. There was no pressure.
Right.
So one of the things Paul and I, what we did after we retired, we happened to retire around the same, about 3-4 years ago. And we would talk to each other every Monday night during football season and say, okay, you got this game. And we pick a game. And we go out and watch the game. Now, it's a good game, we're sticking around.
Yeah.
If it's a blowout, we're up and gone. Because Paul's favorite saying is, we don't have a dog in the fight. So,
yeah, and you know what? When it's raining hard, we've been there, done that. We're out, and we'll catch a score later on the news. But we do, which we've added this year, is we do get early and we do start tailgating.
Yes, we started
And, we
tailgating.
put together a good menu. And,
Actually, our first tailgate this year or last year was at Hilton, with the Hilton McQuaid game.
Okay, yeah.
We were out in the parking lot. It was a beautiful night. It was absolutely beautiful. And we do our share of eating, and that's one of the things we talk about
Good stuff.
on the show is, football, food, and family fun, and all the
Coach,
positive.
do you have a favorite tailgate food you go to?
Wings are a nice go-to.
Yes.
I'll tell you that.
Those
They are a
always-
nice go-to. It's funny because this year, my son last year bought me for Father's Day tickets to a Bills game because we're diehard Bills, and it was that the Blizzard one. It was the year before.
Yep.
And so then he's like, Dad, what do I do? I said, well, if you can get credit, get credit. And he's like, Dad, how about a playoff game? So we went to the Bills Cincinnati. It didn't work out our way, but it's fun. Put up a card table, like you got to experience like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But back to the weather thing. I think maybe I might reevaluate that idea. Maybe coaching more when I retire. It'll definitely be a warmer area because of that rain. Or I'm in the booth.
There you go. The booth is definitely a good spot.
That's great.
Anything else going on?
I think just wanted to announce that Andre Fontenette will be
yes.
the new head coach.
Yep.
He was announced at Gates Chili.
Yep.
I think we're still looking for who Wilson will decide. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll know there. And
Yeah.
what's it, Rochester
Prep.
I think those were the last two that have not been announced. And
Yep.
when we hear that, we'll pass that information on when that happens.
And that's about it. What I have to do now is gotta put my glasses on for this part. Is first off, everybody, please. I want to say thank you first to our subscribers. This is our 7th episode, and I know that we've had people on watching every episode that we've done so far, and we just want to say thank you very much. We really appreciate that. And anybody else that's watching, please subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell, and just help us make this channel grow. That's all we're looking for, is just getting the word out. Matter of fact, getting the word out. I had a text this morning. I'm at work, and I get a text in from a California number, and it happened to be the old kid we used to coach at Olympia, Marcus Wilson.
Oh, great football player. Playing
And,
the NFL.
Yep. And Mark just said he has a nickname for me. He called me Q. So he's like, Q, what's going on? I've been watching your podcast and, absolutely love it. It's Section 5 and just saying a lot of positive things about it. Another one I had is Pete Tufel, lives down in Florida. He's been texting and, emailing me and just saying, positive things. And that's all we're looking for, is just getting the word out and letting people know what's going on. So if you subscribe, thank you very much. Just keep on watching. If you haven't, please subscribe to our channel. And now we're going to get into a little bit of what we got coming up as far as our show. Next week, you know this and I know it because we both work in a school. We have off next week.
Yes.
So that's a very good thing for us.
We'll be like Paul for a week.
Yeah, that's my everyday.
That's our one day or
Right,
1 week
right.
with Paul. So next week, what we're going to have is Pete McCabe in next
Officials,
Monday.
yes,
Good man.
Speaking, and I think we're all going to learn a little bit about what officials, what are some of the trainings they have to do, how, if you are interested in becoming an official, Pete will be able to answer all those type questions.
He's an awesome man. He's a big part of getting all the officials for me in 7-on-7 and what he dealt with in his younger days with football. And he has an unbelievable passion for the game, and he's great for the game. So that's a great guest.
Like we've said, we're trying to get as much information out to people. Kids these days, they watch. There's so much TV that they watch, and I've heard parents in the stands yelling, "Oh, you hit 1 foot and he didn't hit both his feet," and it's on Sundays,
Right.
The difference at the levels, the rules.
Yeah, and that's why we're bringing Pete on, and just to give some clarity to people about the rules are a little different in high school and what they should be looking for.
I just saw the NFL was changing a kickoff rule. I think it just came out today.
Did they really?
Yeah, they're going to do more like what the XFL had for the kickoff, where you'll have
like they're 20 yards apart.
Yes.
In that.
Yes, so they're looking. So again, Pete McCabe would be great. Any new rule changes that are coming out will be effective for the season to explain those to the audience.
It'd be a great guy to have on the show. Now, since we said we don't have school next week, so we're going to have another episode on next Monday, and that is going to be the start of our Rivals Month. We talked a little bit about this earlier. Our rivals, and we're starting it off with a big one. We have coming in is Dave Neiman from Aquinas and Bobby Bates from McQuaid, and we're going to talk about the Aquinas-McQuaid rivalry, and basically I know a little bit about that too because I spent 16, maybe 17 years coaching at Aquinas. So, and I played at Aquinas, so a little bit going about that. After that, the week after that, we're going to have in Coach Jim Lemline from Leroy and Coach Mike Metaselli from Calmum. And we're going to have those guys come in and talk about everything with the Calmum-Leroy rivalry. And my personal thing with that is, some people know, some don't. My father's from Calmum. My mom's from Leroy. So I've had my share of Calmum-Leroy games. Right. And what people talk about the Calmum-Leroy games is it's all, the ladders. People, I remember seeing people walk in with ladders and standing on ladders with the cowbells.
5-6 rows deep of people standing by a fence.
It was just a different, awesome different. But the rivalry with the Calmum-Leroy games. And now I talked to Mike last week, and, we've heard that Calmum and Leroy are going to combine.
Right.
And I asked him, what are your thoughts on it? And what I'd like to say to people is, please tune in.
Oh, that'll be a good one.
Please tune into that one because it's going to be pretty interesting. After that, we have another rivalry coming in, and that is going to be the Little Brown Jug game, the Fairport ER game, and that is going to be Coach Quinn we're going to have in.
A legendary coach.
Wow.
Coach Quinn.
Yeah.
You don't get much bigger than Quinn when you're talking about Section 5.
I'm just glad I came on before all these legends. Holy schmoly, how do you follow all them?
And Don,
Dave Lanning.
Dave Lanning, excuse me. I was going to say Don Santini, but as we know, Don, he's put his years in. The old guy, we love him to death. And we got Dave Lanning coming in from Fairport, who I don't even know if a lot of people know that he played for Quinn.
At East Rochester, yes.
At East Rochester. So that's our Rivals month coming up. A lot of fun stuff, a lot of good stuff. Great Section 5 coaches coming in and speaking and talking about the rivalries. After that, we're going to go back and we have, help me.
We have Tony Jordan coming in.
Well, Tony's going to be in May. Kyle Fenn.
Kyle Fenn from Rydell.
I had it right here.
From Rydell.
We got Kyle. Kyle's going to come in and show some new equipment and stuff like that to show us what's going on with the Rydell equipment. And that's about all I got right now.
It's filling up fast. And I guess
great.
The schedule is filling up
That's
fast.
going to get us to July. And then we're just going to determine. We might go once a week then. Like I said, when we started this, I didn't want to do an every once a week thing. I just Paul's free. I'm not. So we just want to do this once every couple of weeks and see if people do enjoy it, which I know people
That's
have.
awesome.
Yeah, have enjoyed it. Just to let people know too, and I don't even know if you know this, that there's like a little thing you can look up on Facebook. We've had over 3,000 views
Awesome.
on our, and it's only been what would it be 2.5 months,
Maybe that's 7 episodes.
something like that. So it's moving, little by little. And like I said before, just please subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have anything, just email us. It's in the credits, jmarola4747 gmail.com. You want to say your email?
It's just jpbriganti@aol.com.
I love the AOL.
I still got one too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, you good?
No, it's great. I really appreciate what you guys do, and I think to the listeners, you don't have to sit in front of the computer and watch it. When I drive to Wayne, you send me the links, and I put in my phone, push play, and from Hilton to Wayne, I can get a good portion. I listen to the rest of it back, so you don't have to see my ugly face to listen to it.
Coach.
You can listen to it. It's awesome what you guys are doing. I'm truly honored to even be here.
And you know what? We feel mutual. You do so much for Section 5, and you wear so many different hats that we want to make sure the listeners know of all the great things that are going on, and you're a major part of the things that are going on in Section 5.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it, and just having the time just to come over and do this. It's unbelievable the amount of time you put into Section 5, and it's definitely shown. You've done just a great job.
Well, thank you.
That's it.
You good, Paul?
I'm good.
Dave, you good?
I'm good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, at the end,
Oh
see,
yeah,
we
I should have been training.
We used to, we were maybe prep this, but better off. We were just going to go 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to look in the camera and say, keep it
Keeping it
real.
The real Section 5 football.
Okay.
Right?